Newly returned to the Bay Area in 1942, a young man named Robert Duncan came to visit Kenneth Rexroth at his home on Potrero Hill. Having been charmed by the crotchety letters with which Rexroth had been peppering the magazines Partisan Review and View, he was very much the younger poet seeking counsel. Impressed that Rexroth was working in an underground way to support newly interned Japanese Americans, Duncan found a mentor who would soon enough be a colleague. They were a distinctly odd couple in many ways. Rexroth was of medium size and pugnacious. Duncan was tall and talkative, with a very large head, a small mouth, and noticeably crossed eyes. His open gayness and Rexroth's intermittent homophobia somehow didn't matter, and they would become the nucleus of a remarkably powerful gathering of poets over the next decade. Assuming the mantle of poet outside academia inherently propels the claimant out of conventional society into an artistic subculture where money is no longer the sine qua non. In fact, both these men were consciously anarchistic in the philosophical rather than bomb-throwing sense, and these views would not only permeate the community that gathered around them, but affect San Francisco's arts culture as a whole well into the era of Haight-Ashbury in the 1960s. Born in Chicago in 1905, Rexroth was a truant, hostile to authority, and pursued his education in the literary ferment known as the Chicago Renaissance, that gathered around Theodore Dreiser, Vachel Lindsay, Harriet Monroe's poetry, and Margaret Anderson's Little Review. As a teen, he met all these people and more, particularly Bill Haywood, the leader of the Industrial Workers of the World, IWW. He studied left-wing politics and also the cutting edge of avant-garde writing, the Dadaist Tristan Tzara, and the surrealist poet Robert Desnos, then found the Green Mask, a bohemian tea room on State Street, which connected him to Chicago's flourishing African-American cultural scene, from the music of Alberta Hunter and Jimmy Yancey to the poetry readings of people like Langston Hughes, County Cullen, and Claude McKay. Rexroth's Chicago was a highly creative social, sexual, cultural, and political free-for-all, and he soaked it all in. Briefly an IWW recruiter and then a newspaper reporter, he married Andre Schaefer, a painter. They packed their meager possessions into rucksacks and in the spring of 1927 headed for San Francisco, where the relaxed Mediterranean atmosphere of what he termed dolce far niente, sweet doing nothing, persuaded him that they were home. An unerring instinct for what would later be called networking quickly brought them to the door of a poet named Elsa Gidlow, an extraordinary woman who'd published overt lesbian odes in the 1910s. Her untroubled certainty in her orientation would make her an icon when the times began to catch up with her. For the next decade, the focus of Rexroth's life apart from poetry was political activism with the Communist Party, although he was insufficiently doctrinaire to be a successful party member. He organized an artists' and writers' union, which facilitated the painting of historic frescoes at San Francisco's Coit Tower, but was chastised by the party for working with the petit bourgeois rather than the proletariat. When he sensibly reached out to black churches as part of organizing black workers on behalf of the Unemployment Council, the party lectured him about the opiate of the masses. After he wrote a play about the Paris Commune, the party ordered him to abandon formalist Trotskyite petty bourgeois bohemianism. As war approached, he abandoned the party and turned toward pacifism and philosophical anarchism, joining the Fellowship of Reconciliation and working with the American Friends Service Committee to support the victims of Japanese-American internment. His was an anarchism built on what is known as political personalism, in which the personal is political, in which the moral and the spiritual precede the social and political, and the fundamental emphasis is on the dignity of the individual. Anti-hierarchical, it advocates participatory rather than representative democracy.
To keep listening to this audiobook for free, click the link in the description. It will take you to a free Audible trial where you can listen to this and many other books for free for 30 days.